form we do something for God 10 you and move again to work. It really is an awesome one proper there. I'm going to kick your butt, Tom. For those who love Fact TV, there's a hazard. They have got Encounter Pawn Stars, a witty call to a display that belongs to Rick Harrison. It follows the pawn shop owner as he uncovers priceless possession, the usage of his huge know-how of the history of gold, silver under all that light the deep shadows that ran deep for years. Sooner or later we're given some publicity as over a decade of truths are abruptly getting exposed. A succession of contentious accusations, scandals, litigation, and own family betrayals engulf this circle of relatives-run enterprise. Be a part of us as we now find truths, approximately his son taking the middle degree, and diverse recent controversies. The very starting each epic story has its beginning story in a 77-year vintage. Richard Benjamin Harrison become the one to put the rules for this empire this old grandfather helped create. A pawn store in Las Vegas was the linchpin of an enterprise primarily based on knowledge in precious metals for the time he had left on Earth. His mind-boggling know-how on gold and silver, paired along with his non-nonsense demeanor, an in-depth heritage inside the enterprise, ensured nothing, however, fulfillment. Unfortunately, he changed into a shooting celebrity, and at the same time as his development turned into blinding at his advanced age, his time got here to an end in 218 fortuitously. His son, Rick Harrison, turned into there to select up the ball as he understood early on that pawning was about way more than simply making a fast buck. He had already set his sights on growing a Hedizeb emblem around the business even earlier than he took over from his father. He knew that an awesome and thrilling backstory provided extra cost to the object than the object itself. A terrific tale is loved by all, and there wouldn't be a line of humans queued up to buy those testimonies. Essentially any extraordinarily valuable antique like the type that sells at Christie's had a tale really worth 1 million greenbacks. At the same time as the foundations have been there, Rick had a tough time turning a profit inside the starting a lot, so that he often ended up lending extra cash than he become making. He did not own the identical intensity of understanding his father did. However, what he lacked he made up for in zeal. His zeal paid off. While the concept of the display was pitched to History Channel by using manufacturer Brent Bernard Law Montgomery, who became fascinated by the shop's surroundings and the own family's interactions, Pawn Stars formally premiered at the History Channel in 2009, and it tracked the own family's interactions with the bizarre, at times valuable things that customers brought into the shop. Each new day brought a brand new wonder to each the circle of relatives and the target market, as uncommon comic books and artifacts concept to be from historical Egypt have been some of the many atypical matters that turned up on their counter. This guaranteed exciting revel in which, in turn, kept humans constantly turned in. Apart from that, the viewers had been dealt with to the playful banters between Rick and his father, preliminary controversy and monetary problems, simply, while the whole thing become getting on target with the enterprise. And surprising courtroom case broke out among Rick Harrison and his mother, Joanne Harrison. This lawsuit turned into reportedly over family assets and who gets to maintain the gold and silver pawn shop. Joanne Harrison filed a lawsuit against Rick claiming she became misled concerning the possession shape of the pawn safe following Richard Harrison's demise in 2018. She claimed that Rick took control of her proportion inside the enterprise without her complete knowledge or consent to the problem, as he made her sign over her 51% claim in the store shares whilst she was hospitalized and improving from her coma in 2008. This was accompanied through a declare that she had no longer been receiving her rightful percentage of the income and that Rick had been mishandling family assets in step with her felony crew after Richard's demise. She was to inherit his 49% portion of the pawn shop, but Rick hadn't offered her with complete paperwork of the business's budget. That is why Joanne claimed she couldn't get an accurate accounting for over $500,000 worth of silver and cash. She insisted that those possessions had been accumulated via the past due Richard before his passing. Understandably, this became a public spectacle that affected the image of the commercial enterprise and its profits. Rick was become satisfied that his mother turned into being led off beam via some people for his or her own advantage, and that the accusations were unfounded. This wasn't all, because the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 extensively dropped the pawn shop's annual sales from almost $1 million to $47,046. That year, the felony turmoil endured after the aftermath of the pandemic, with submitting for a restraining order stopping him from liquidating the family's assets. In addition, the restraining order might save you, Rick, from doing anything that might alienate Joanne from the family business, which includes moving or hiding cash. The ebook further said that Joanne, who became 81 years vintage at the time, had several fitness issues that necessitated constant monitoring and care that could price as lots as $1,500. But instead of parting with $1,000 a month, zero in step with month, what startled him even greater became that, as opposed to listening to about the restraining order request from Joanne herself, he leered approximated from news reports. Despite the fact that they wouldn't be returning to the same house, he insisted that he had attempted to contact her multiple instances for months after the incident. However, had been unsuccessful. This made it more difficult for him to negotiate higher terms so that everybody should move domestic thrilled. But this honestly wasn't the first legal dispute that a friend or family member become involved in. Chumley, who was also a beloved part of the display, been a pawnbroking there for over 10 years, also had his proportion of legal problems. The Chumley Case, Austin Lee Russell, also referred to as Chumley, has performed a full-size role within the popular History Channel show for pretty some time. He at once stuck each person's interest at the display, along with his eccentric and humorous demeanor, but his lifestyles within the highlight had its own set of disadvantages, and he frequently ran into some of prison issues, but he became unable to avoid the glitz and glamour of show business, regardless of these issues. 1. His earliest acknowledged scrap with the regulation changed into, in 2012, while he changed into captured on Digicam fleeing the scene of an altercation with a man in Hollywood. Chumley maintained he acted in self-defense, following the man's wrist to pull a pistol on him and his pals, despite the fact that the sufferer changed into left battered and bleeding at the facet of the street. In keeping with him, the man seemed oblivious to his presence on TV, as if instinct had taken over. As far as he may want to bear in mind from the incident, the man desired nothing more than to get off their car and phone problem, even though he controlled. To break out this one, the scandal he was approximately to face was on a completely distinctive scale. In 2016, police determined an unregistered firearm and unlawful tablets in his home while carrying out an pre-search into allegations of sexual assault, whilst his Southwest Las Vegas residence became raided. The police allegedly determined marijuana, methamphetamine, and a firearm. A police spokesman, Officer Larry Hadfield, said that the inquiry was in component caused by means of a current complaint from a woman, and that the officials have been making every attempt to uncover the fact, even if he turned into not booked on sex crime allegation, in accordance to the AP's quotation of records. From the Clark County Detention Center, he become facing one weapon price further to 19 accusations of drug possession. The sexual assault allegations had been later dropped, but the harm to his recognition become already carried out. The revelations made during the raid gave him a whole new set of troubles with the regulation. A huge amount of drugs, which include marijuana, crystal meth, and Xanax, have been confiscated by the police. 11 other firearms, 8 of which were no longer registered, and proof of cocaine use had been additionally determined, figuring out that he should probably land in serious hassle, he usually a plea deal, to keep away from prison time he turned into, also positioned underneath 3 years of probation and counseling after being arrested on 20 prison prizes that had been later dropped to misdemeanors. Subsequent up had been his private struggles together with his weight, which he has battled all of his existence, achieving a peak of 305.50 PS in 2019. However, in pursuit of a better lifestyles, he lost 160 PS and posted pics of himself before and after on social media. The reality big name released Chumley's suite at the Bid, a confectionery in Las Vegas in 2017. The store draws each locals and traffic with its nostalgic assortment of goodies and wonderful novelty gadgets. Chumley remains a famous Pawn Stars member today, and he is working to improve by way of interacting with fanatics through Cameo, where he makes customized video messages. Enthusiasts also are thrilled about Chumley's adventure, The Quest for Pinky, his new online game which has a nostalgic vibe reminiscent of antique video games. Chumley lamentably isn't the handiest one who has gotten into trouble, as Corey Harrison, Rick's son, had his truthful share of demanding situations. Corey Harrison is well known at the show, and his ambitions of taking up the store in the future has always been apparent, but his plans hit a snag while phrase were given out about his antics at the same time as on a motorbike tour forestall in Jefferson City. After what witnesses said turned into every week of excessive ingesting, he were given into an unsightly incident at a pub called Spectators. Consumers have been astonished when he peed in public and threw a bar stool main to his expulsion from the establishment, despite the fact that he eventually issued a public apology and tried to clear his name. Through the episode, however, garnered undesirable interest, something which caused him a number of remorse. More troubles continued to comply with him as he continued to make headlines for all the wrong motives. In 2021, assets claimed that he rented an RV in 2020 for a quick getaway inside the California wasteland. Issues started while William Thie, the owner of the car, claimed that he did not return the RV on the scheduled date. It became even damaged when he finally did. An afternoon later, his assistant called to report that they had been in a coincidence and that the RV would be towed lower back consistent with Volana. But it took a further 2 days for the absolutely broken car to reveal up. Williams claimed that the RV's interior turned into protected and empty bottles and eggs among different items, and that the awning had been torn off similarly to the ordinary bodywork. Harm from a collision. The anticipated cost of repairing the damage reportedly reached as high as $330,000. Williams also claimed that the situation of the automobile pressured him to cancel 10 reservations, which substantially deflated his own cash flow. But time was already flying and he had somewhat no income then. And the ominous spider's clothes did not untie. Affected his profits additionally. He said that Corey's refusal to reimburse him for the damages became the main reason he said the incident to the police. Representatives tried to disregard the accusations within the media by way of claiming that the RV became undrivable and that after he had rented it, the pop-outs had been already defective and wouldn't cross lower back. In Corey's, wealth allowed him to legally application that felt less like a pawning series and more extra like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Now, notwithstanding its difficulties, Pawn Megastar still has a prime fan base and could go down as one of the most good-sized fact TV applications, shooting the real hardships of handling a circle of relatives commercial enterprise within the ever-changing environment of Las Vegas. What do you think of Pawn celebrities' boom and the various scandals allow us to recognize inside the remarks below? Thanks for watching. To enjoy extra interesting movies, click play at the video in your screen, and don't overlook to love, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you get notified while a brand new video drops.